Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. I'm currently editing this video and I realised the intro I made didn't make much sense with what the video turned out to be. So I'm doing an intro now, and all I can say is I hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content from me, as well as follow me on my on all my other platforms that are in the description below. Okay, so please ignore any kind of background noise. I had a shower and washed my hair, as you can probably see, and I have the aircon on the heater setting because with the curls and the fact I don't have a diffuser right now, I have to let it dry naturally, and they're like literally a sponge. My back is soaked in water from having washed it, so the last thing I want to do is catch a chill and get sick again. So I apologise if there's background noise. I hope it's not too much, but it's just gonna have to be what it will be for the greater good of me not getting sick. I have been thinking for a little bit of the best way to do this video, because there's different topics I want to talk about that are just reflecting on 2025 and also my goals and what I'm aiming towards in 2026. So I've been really reflecting and thinking about the best way to do it, and I realised that maybe vlog style isn't the best, and it's better as kind of a sit down, whether it's all in one go right now or it's like cut up through different days. I don't know, but I figured that was the best way to do it, so I wrote down in my little notebook just some pointers of things I wanted to talk about. And the first one I don't think is a shock to pretty much anyone who has watched my videos in the past, because I have done I don't know how many videos about books, and I think I mentioned earlier in the intro part of this video that I'm struggling with books and I'm in a bit of a book slump. However, the point I wanted to make is that this year, though I didn't really read as much as I did last year based on actual amounts of books, I have found books and genres and my reading style that works for me. I stayed away from the whole TBR videos type stuff, and I stayed away from actually making TBRs because I found it less productive reading, because it felt forceful in a way of these are the books you have to read this month, this is what's to read, and my brain doesn't work that way, which is weird because if I make a checklist, I'm more productive doing stuff around the house. From Saturday all the way through to today, I've been really productive, deep cleaning my room, doing stuff around the house. I've baked. I'm baking later today. I'm going to make some banana bread protein muffins. And so it's kind of opposites of a TBR, which is essentially a checklist of books. Doesn't work for me when it comes to reading, but it does when it comes to productivity. So that bit doesn't necessarily correlate nor make sense as to why one works and why one doesn't. However, I figured out I'm much more of a mood reader. I rarely DNF books. It takes a long time, or it has to be really, really, really bad for me not to enjoy it. I've stuck through books that have been 2 stars for me. I haven't found a book that's a 1 star, I don't think. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, but even if I'm not enjoying the book, I will still go through with it because it's maybe it'll get better in the next chapter. I want to know how it finishes, and I want to make my review and rating based on the entire book, because there's books where it starts really slow and I'm like, oof, don't really want to read it, but I keep reading it and then it gets really good and it ends up being like a 3.5 or 4 star. There's books where that's happened. There's also books where it's the opposite and it's really, really good and then bad ending in my opinion, and it went from what could have been a 4 star to like a 3 or a 2. I'm much more of a, if I pick a book up and I start reading it and then I'm no longer in the mood for it, rather than DNF it, I kind of press pause on it because I'll go back to it eventually, or it will be a mystery, say it's a mystery, and I'm reading it and I get to a certain point and I'm like, I don't really feel like reading this anymore. I'll go read whatever I am in the mood for, probably finish it pretty quickly, and then I'll go back to what I was reading and finish that. So it's not DNFing, it's pausing, which if I were to do a TBR, I'd probably be more inclined to DNF books because it feels more like an obligation of I have to get through it. So I'm trying to take reading as an actual hobby rather than almost in my mind making it seem like a chore of you have to read this many books, you have to do this, you have to do that. So going into next year I'm gonna stay on top of that and try to just maintain it as that. I will still be doing book videos, probably not as many, or maybe I'll actually end up doing more because I know what I like, what I don't like, my reading style. So I'll just see how that goes. As for genres, romance, dark romance, I've gotten into this year. Romance is a bit of a strange one because it depends what I go in expecting based on the synopsis or based on reviews I've seen or whatever it may be. I love a good sports romance. I love a good YA because I think I still fit into that, though I haven't read a YA recently, so I couldn't tell you. I've also realised I quite enjoy dystopian fantasy sci-fi books. Like I read 3 of the Maze Runner books, like the trilogy of them, because after that I think there's the prelogue and the like after, or maybe they're both before the actual maze, I'm not sure, but I still have those 2 to read of the 5. But the trilogy that the movies are based on I read and I really, really enjoyed them this year. So I do want to read more books similar to that. I want to read Hunger Games because I've never really read those books. I've not even seen the films, but I think I'm gonna read the books before I watch the films because that just makes more sense to me. And I saw Divergent is also there, and I think it's Red Queen is also meant to be kind of that type of genre. The main genre I have been loving is fantasy, but more leaning towards romantasy. I do quite enjoy a fantasy where there's a subplot of romance, but I also enjoy just a straight romantasy. But I enjoy it more when there's political intrigue in the world that is building. Like Fourth Wing, whether it's in your face or not, there's political intrigue. Another book I read, like ACOTAR, there's political intrigue. I know there is in Maze Runner, and I'm pretty sure there is in Hunger Games based on what I've seen and know about it. So as for books, this year I've really come into how I enjoy reading, the books I like reading. I still like a good mystery or thriller here and there, don't get me wrong. I'm all for that, but again, I just have to be in the mood for it. Next thing I have been working on all year round is makeup. I've wanted to get better at makeup, but as I was doing more and more full faces daily, I upset my skin. And I'm very fortunate that my older sister not only studied hairdressing but is now in her last year of an esthetician course, and so she had to have models to practice on for college, and I got to go in I think 3 times, and she examined my skin. Every time we went in we got closer and closer to what my skin actually is. And I spent pretty much 90% of my life thinking it's combination on the dry side, and it could be right that that is how it was like before, because our skin is forever changing, as well as bodies in your early 20s. I know for women there's kind of like a second puberty that goes on. It also depends on your exercise, what you're using on your face, makeup wise, skincare wise, what you're eating, what you're fueling your body with. And we got down to the point of right now my skin is actually oily but it's dehydrated, which I did not know was like possible to have at the same time, but I now know how to take care of it properly, the steps I need to like go through. And something I've learned is actually the less the better. So I have makeup on right now, but I don't have a base on. I use concealer to cover up whatever needs covering, like my under eyes, if there's any blemishes or pores or spots, contour, bronzer, blush, eyes and lips, which again doesn't seem like a small amount of makeup, but it is compared to what I do for an entire full face of makeup, because they're light products, and I feel like the cream products I use are better than powdered products. I still have powders. I have setting powder and I have an actual powder, and they work for my skin. But I feel like if I use powder products everywhere on my face, it dries out and it just looks cakey, which is why I prefer the cream products. And obviously that was kind of a 2-in-1 of makeup and skincare. I found, for me personally, the brand CeraVe works really well with my skin. The cleanser I use is the foaming cleanser that's kind of like a teal colour, and it's for combination to oily skin. Their SPF moisturiser is really good and doesn't upset my skin. And then there's also an Elizabeth Arden Visible Difference moisturiser, which works really well, and I actually got introduced to that by my sister. I also have sensitive skin, but my sister's skin is a lot more sensitive, so the CeraVe stuff upsets her skin, however the Elizabeth Arden stuff doesn't. For me, I found that CeraVe works, so I stick to what I know. I'm not really keen on overconsumption or getting stuff because it's popular. If I find a product and it works for me and it could be from a drugstore, then I'm using it, and I'm not straying from that until I have to, because they either don't do it anymore or like I've moved somewhere else and they don't have the stores that they have here. Then I change it, but I will stick to what I know, especially for skin. It's also beneficial to have my sister who knows what's good for my skin and what's not, because we could go to like Sephora, or here it's kind of like a Boots but it's pretty mod, and they have makeup, they have skincare, they have basically, it's what Boots is in the UK but here in Spain. And if I see a product and I'm like, oh, I like the look of that, I'll go to my sister, can you read the ingredients? And she'll go, no, it has this in it, it has this, like that in it. That's not actually good for your face based on how much you're meant to be using it. I don't have serums or oils that I apply to my face, or like hyaluronic acids or anything, because they tend to be within cleansers or moisturizers or whatever other products I'm using. If I'm doing makeup, they could be in primer, and it's not good to overconsume them or use them too much on your skin. It's actually worse. So I will not be touching any of them until I'm told, or I talk to my sister and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of buying this, and she will either tell me if it's good or it's not for my skin. Another thing that I've really struggled with this year, especially with my job, and don't get me wrong, I loved my job while I had it. Obviously it was a temporary contract, so it was going to come to an end at some point. But hobbies is something I've really struggled with, because I have spent a lot of time being like, oh, I want to get a gym membership, I want to go to workout classes, I want to do this, I want to do that, and the area I live in is very limited as to what's around, because to get to the actual centre where we live, you have to like get a bus, or, which isn't the end of the world. I've got on buses, but the way that the bus lines work here, when you look at the bus lines, it's so confusing, because it's like, well, it's here at this time, but then I don't know how many stops it is before it gets to where I actually am, and I don't know what that's like time-wise. So there are buses available, but it's figuring out that whole system, which isn't very clear here in Spain, or at least where we live. Or it's getting dropped off and picked up, or taking a taxi, or there's not much. And even in the centre of where we live, there's also not that much to do, especially for like my age group. I think there's things around for younger kids and there's things around for older people, but our age group, there's not much other than bars. And even though I'm 21, and most of the other 21-year-olds I have been surrounded by even before we were 21, like the people I went to school with, the people I am friends with, they all enjoy going out and partying, and I'm fine to do that occasionally, but it's not like I want to do that every single weekend. If anything, I find it more draining than like going to a painting thing or whatever it may be, but there's not that around here, so it's a struggle. There is a gym near my house, but it's small and the classes are limited. Like, I'd love to go to a Pilates class, but they don't have that here nearby. So hobbies has been a difficult one. The main ones I've found are colouring, this, content creation. I'm looking at a Lego set thing over there, which I'm yet to make, but I do love Legos. They're just unfortunately really expensive now. And the other one is, of course, reading. So I like calming hobbies, and I think it's because that my brain's just constantly like non-stop with ideas or thoughts or random things that comes into my mind, that I'm like, this is relaxing time. Reading, I can escape. Colouring, I'm focused, I'm in my own little world. I'd love to do hobbies that actually like get me out of the house. Like, I enjoy working out, but like I said, gym memberships and stuff, not really near me. I'd also really want to go to like those, I don't even know if they have them here in Spain, they probably do, but they're like far away from where I live, pottery, but not the actual making of the pottery, more the painting, the like ceramic painting stuff. I really want to go to that at some point, so I'll look into that. But as I talked about it earlier, I will talk about the job world. I started a job the 8th of January and I finished in October, and like I said, it was a temporary contract, so I knew that I wasn't going to be there for a long time, and that was difficult because it gets to a certain point where I forget that I'm not going to be there like forever, and that is strange to me because for anyone who doesn't know what I worked in youth education as a nursery teacher, and I don't know if it's just who I am or just a natural response, but while they are in my care, they're basically my own kids. The ratios here in Spain are insane of the amount of kids to teacher. For 0 to 1 year olds, you can have 8 babies to 1 teacher in a classroom, and then 1 to 2, which is the class I finished with, I had 13 kids in my class to 1 teacher. So on that side of it, it is very stressful because it's a lot of kids to a teacher and you're alone 90% of the time. Occasionally you'll have like a helper come in if you want to go to the bathroom or you need help with an activity, but other than that, feeding, lunchtime, everything is yourself. And while I'm really upset that I obviously had to leave, on the other side I'm slightly relieved because after that, the 2 to 3, I would have had 20 kids in a classroom by myself, and then it's like 95% of the time because you need the helper less apparently. So it was slightly stressful from that point of view, but I just loved it so much. The people I worked with were incredible, but obviously since I finished that job, I've been looking at loads of other jobs, and finding a job nowadays is not easy whatsoever, because unless every place you go to, they want experience, and if it's what I've actually studied, now that I have experience, and on top of that I did practicals, so I was actually at nurseries while I was studying, which also goes towards experience, that is much easier. The downside is because I finished in October, a lot of schools, they go on their summer break and then they reopen in September, so not a lot of places are looking for staff, and if they are, it's temporary, and the ones I've managed to find are far away, and they're big cities like Madrid or Malaga, and it's actually going to cost me more to go there and like rent a place for X amount of months then I'd actually be getting an income, so it just wasn't worth it. And I've applied for waitress jobs, admin jobs, receptionist jobs, and the downside is a lot of them want people with experience in that, but it's difficult to get experience in jobs when everyone wants people with experience. It's quite the contradiction of, well, how do you expect anyone to get experience if everyone wants people with experience? It just doesn't make sense in my head. So I'm still searching. I'm obviously, the main goal is for this to become my, I don't want to say my job because it's a little bit tedious with obviously editing and stuff, but other than that, it's a bunch of free time. But on the flip side of it, it's do I actually want to do that 24/7? Because I need structure, when I need routine, I need something. So I don't know if I were able to do this 24/7, if I'd actually be able to without doing some type of job on the side to have that kind of structure. Because since I've not had it from leaving not leaving, but from that contract ending and not having that job and that routine anymore, it's completely thrown me like out of whack. Like completely, like it's insane. I went from having this fixed routine, if I wake up at this time, I do this, I leave at this time, to no, you just have hours of free time and wondering what the heck you're gonna do with your life, which is not great for someone who has a brain that won't stop and will spiral at a minimum thought. And speaking of that, mental health this year has its ups and downs, as it always does, but I actually started therapy this year. Some of you may know that I was in a therapy group a few years ago for my anxiety and stuff, and that did really help. But this year I went to one-on-one therapy, and it started face-to-face, and then with jobs, like timetables and stuff being changed of me, family members, my parents, it ended up being on FaceTime after that, which wasn't an issue as my therapist had seen me in person that many times that she knew who I was and she didn't mind doing that, which was very nice of her. And obviously now that I'm not working, I have stopped the therapy sessions because it was like every 15 days, and any of you that go to therapy or are interested in therapy, you'd know it's not cheap. But I also felt like it was a good place to finish our sessions because I'm a lot better now than I was before, which is obviously the whole point of why you go to therapy. But I think therapy is good for anyone, no matter what. And I also think it's good to kind of have an on and off relationship with it, or in my case at least, because otherwise I'm not really gaining anything from those sessions other than less money in my bank, because it gets to a point where I've worked through what I wanted to work through. There's nothing else I want to really work through, and I don't want you to tell me other issues just so you can keep getting money from me. So I'm gonna end it here, and then when there's a new issue, I will obviously go back to therapy, probably with the same therapist. We worked very well together, but if it's not her, then I'd have to find one that matches me. It could be that she was really good for what we were working through at that point and through those months, which was various things, and a new issue comes up and she's not the person that's fit for that issue that I'm going through. And that's just how therapy works, is finding a match. It's similar to dating, really. It's finding that perfect match that you really can do things a way that works for you. So that was very helpful. Trying to think what else I wanted to talk about. Other than that, some of you may have seen the video where I went through my entire wardrobe and I got rid of things and I bought new clothes, and I think it will go up before this one. There's a vlog where I did a haul of the clothes I got through. I want to say it will be up before this one. It probably will be. And I went back to pretty much basics of plain colours. A lot of it was brown, burgundy, black and white, and that way I can layer things. It felt a lot more me. Don't get me wrong, I still have t-shirts that have designs and stuff on them. I still have jerseys from sports and things that I enjoy, which is another thing I actually got into this year, thanks to my dad. I got into the NHL quite a while ago, but this year I've really gotten into the NFL, and the team I've decided to support is Detroit, because my dad was first attempting to get me into the NFL, I actually got more into college football rather than NFL football, and I really liked the Michigan Wolverines, which obviously Detroit is in Michigan, so I thought it would make sense to go Detroit, because if I ever get the chance to go to America to see a football game, then it would make sense to try and fit them both in one and go to a game of the Michigan Wolverines and Detroit Lions. However, saying that, nothing to do with Detroit whatsoever. This team I support in hockey are the New Jersey Devils. It was just the team that called to me, that I got really intrigued with their plays and how they play hockey. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but you know. I have been watching F1 this year, and with the amount of rule changes and stuff, it's not that easy to watch anymore. Not because it's necessarily bad, it's just not what it was, and there's so many rule changes and things going on that it almost takes away from the enjoyment of it, but I still do really enjoy it. Which again, slight contradictions. I don't enjoy it now as much as I once did, which is kind of sad. And obviously the last race of the season is this weekend, and the title, like the Drivers' Championship title, is up for grabs between Verstappen, Piastri and Norris. And obviously I'm going to tune in to watch it, but this season of F1's been all over the place. But side note to what I was talking about, which was clothes, I still have patterned clothes and designed clothes that have obviously like whoever it may be on it, like Youngblood merch, the sports, which is where I got off on that tangent, jerseys and stuff, but I feel like I'm much more me when I find outfits that are easy to put together, that I can really layer and build on, and if I want to I can make the makeup be the main thing, or the jewellery or the accessories or whatever it may be. It's just more me right now, and that's what I'm really going for, is to really just find myself and stick to what feels good, rather than trying to follow whatever may be trendy, because it's insane how quickly trends change with colours, with this, with that, and I'd rather have something that felt authentic to me, because I also feel like that helps your vibe and your confidence, and it really reflects. The last two things I wanted to talk about of 2025 is relationships, whether it be friendships or actual relationships. I have struggled in friendships with not standing up for myself when things bother me, really struggling to communicate my feelings, and like sticking around when, you know, people outgrow each other, or sometimes you outgrow someone else and they're no longer fit or at the same level as you are mentally, and they're not giving good in your life, and they're actually bringing negativity and doing more damage than good. And I've always struggled to let go of those people, because I've wanted every single person in the world to like me always. It's something I struggled with through school, in jobs, in classrooms, in outside worlds, and from childhood to adulthood. Something I wanted, because I felt like if I'm liked by everyone, that means I'm a good person. I'm liked, people think I'm nice, people like me, and 95% of the time my friendships in school occurred because people wanted something, or people were using me for something, and I was okay with that, because it's like, well, it means they like me. Whereas growing up now, obviously doing therapy this year, really learning to communicate my feelings and talk them out, and if I'm struggling or going through something or having thoughts about something, I'd go to my sister or my mum and my dad and be like, this is happening, I want to do this, but I think it will upset them. And sometimes it's okay to be seen as selfish, or to have someone be like, oh well, I don't like that. It's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to leave those people behind. And it was a struggle to learn that and to go through with that. And it's not like I hold anything against people for that. It's like, it's not their fault. Every single person does stuff for a reason, and every single person has their own struggles, and that's fine. But it's no longer serving me and my life, so I'm fine to step away from it. And that's a big thing I learnt this year, and it was learnt the hard way, and it was not an easy thing to do, but I needed to do it, and I was better off for doing it. Now, did these things always occur nicely? No. I got in a fight with a friend over stuff, and we worked at the same place, so it made things awkward, but then we managed to talk things out and we ended up in a good place. If anything, a better place. We're not still friends to the extent that we were, but we ended things on good terms. We talked everything out, and we both know that we didn't do things right, both on that person's side and on mine. And it was just a really nice thing to actually go through. Like, was it good during the bad? Obviously not. But in hindsight, we talked it through. We both admitted to our mistakes in it, and the friendship ended in a really good, nice place, because we were both willing to admit that we'd done stuff that wasn't right, and we both said that if anyone, either of us, needed anything or were in a bad place, that reach out whenever. It's just we didn't continue the friendship to a full. And sometimes that's okay too. Like, both of you have acknowledged that maybe the friendship isn't for you anymore, but you talk it out and you end it in a good place. And if anything, ending that way probably served me greater than if I'd have been quiet and let that friendship go on when it wasn't serving, like, probably neither one of us anymore at that point. And it's not easy to do, but it is something you have to learn. And you also have to realize that you can't please anyone. Well, not anyone, everyone. You can please people, but you can't please every single person. You can't be liked by every single person. I think about it and I'm like, I don't even like every single person, so why would every single person like me? And those are lessons that older people, whether it be your parents, older siblings, teachers, tell you when you're growing up, and you don't really understand it until you have to understand it, and you have to learn those things to grow. And that is what this year has taught me and has been. And sometimes you can't control what people are saying about you behind your back, and you can't control someone else making you the villain in their story to make themselves feel better about whatever it is that happened. And you just have to let that be. You have to be okay with those things, because if you defend yourself or you retaliate, you look worse. You just go on with your life like you didn't even know about it, and it's better for you. It really is. It's a lot more peaceful if you just let people say whatever they want to say, because ultimately, if it's someone that doesn't know you and they meet you and their opinion is based on someone else's opinion, and they're not willing to let that change or to get to know you for who you are, then that's not someone I want in my life, that's made an assumption of me based on what someone else has told them rather than making their own. I don't want those people in my life, and that's how it works. Same as sometimes people are like the opposite, where it's they heard loads of nice things about you, but maybe you're two different people that don't match each other's energies and vibes and hobbies, or have nothing in common, and you can still be a nice person, but it just doesn't work, you know. That's just life. But I feel like that's everything I wanted to talk about of 2025, and I'm very much looking forward to 2026 because I'm going into it with a different mindset. I get to a point at the end of every single year, like I said in the beginning of this video, where I reflect and it's like, I wanted to do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do enough. And so reflecting on it and looking at it at positives and negatives has helped, because I realise I've actually done a lot more than I thought this year. But next year I want to be more consistent with posting videos. I want to have a routine that can also be flexible around whenever I eventually get a job, which I'm really hoping is pretty soon. But making a routine where it's like working out morning or afternoon, make a routine of that, because if I'm going to work in the morning, wake up earlier, get it done in the morning. Or if I stick to an afternoon, do it when I get back home from work. Just having a routine set in stone with when I'm doing things. Obviously, when I get a new job, those things will be switched around to fit in with the schedule of the job. But just to have a routine, because I need it, because it's how my brain works, it's what's best for me, and I know that. Some people don't need a routine to actually do the stuff. I do. That's how my brain works. My goals is to, well, one of them is to be a lot more consistent with my workouts, to eat on the healthier side. I'm not gonna cut out anything because that's not good for you, and it's also not going to work in the long term with a diet or whatever. And it's not even a diet, I just want to eat healthier, and I don't eat unhealthy anyway. It's just I've mainly towards the end of this year I've been sick quite a lot, and so I've wanted stodge and lots of like processed foods and sweets. So I want to try and eat, not even clean, because I want to have the occasional sweet little treats and stuff, but to eat less processed foods and to eat more whole foods on occasions, like frequently, and still enjoy a sweet treat here and there. I'm eating a lot healthier now, and I am having a sweet little treat every single day from our advent calendar house that we have, which I will be buying in the future when I have my own family, because it seems like a lot cheaper. It's essentially a wooden house that has doors and windows on the front and then on the back, and all you have to do every year for Christmas is buy the chocolates that go in them, and that's it, rather than buy a advent calendar every single year and then have to throw all of that cardboard and stuff away. I don't see the point. I think my parents were really smart for actually getting that calendar house, and it's really cute as well. Another tangent. And I just want to really work on myself and be me, go out more, do more things in 2026 and live my life for me. I've had this really bad habit since I was young of watching people on YouTube or a movie or people on TikTok now and Instagram, and doom scrolling is so easy to do, and like you could start at 9 AM, you're still scrolling at 12 PM and you think it's been 10 minutes when it's been 3 hours. That's how easy it is. But social media is, for 90% of the people that use it, the highlight reel of their lives. I know I'm guilty of this on my Instagram. Like, I'm not going to post a picture of me crying. I post the pictures of me where I think I look good. I don't post the ones where I'm like, I don't really like this and I don't really like that, even though most people looking at that picture won't think those things whatsoever. But social media has become quite a toxic place. I don't remember it being that toxic growing up. It probably was, and then it went through a period of time where it was better, and now it's gotten worse along with everything else in the world. And I want to use it to be really honest with people, but not everyone does that. I want to show you the good and the bad, which is why I sat down here and talked about the good and the bad. And obviously not every single person does that, and it's so easy to watch a video and see people with XYZ or doing XYZ, and you're like, well, I can't do that, I don't know why. And I spent years being the consumer, and now that I've actually started creating my own stuff, I want to live my life. Will my life be as extravagant as all these other people doing the same thing? I don't know. It's also not in my control to decide that, but I'm gonna go live my life and document it, because ultimately this is a catalogue of memories and experiences through my life, and through the years, because I want to continue doing it, that I can reflect on when I'm older, or that I could show my kids one day if I have any, you know. It's more just something I want to do for fun, that I enjoy doing, that I just want to be able to look back on. My one regret is I didn't film the trip I did to the Unplugged concert with my sister, but I'm hoping we travel together again soon, whether it be for a concert or just travel in general somewhere. I want to catalogue that. I mean, I catalogued it necessarily in the videos of the concert, as well as pictures we took, but I just enjoy having these here as little memories, like a memory book but in video forms. And the book ones I do is just because I enjoy it, and I love that, and hopefully you guys do as well. And I don't really think I have that much more to say, so I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any accomplishments that you have in mind for 2026, leave them down below of what you maybe want to do. If you want to run a marathon, which I know my sister's been on about for a long time, she wants to do one, or if it's something small of just being more you, like mine is, then that's great. And I hope we stick around in this journey together for a while, and if you want to, please make sure to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.